So, that awkward moment when you expect the worst, yet still are shooketh and left disappointed by how negative it all turned out. I'm not saying it's impossible for there not to be a good ending. It could still happen. I think the likely scenario is bittersweet. Damn. Like, sure, we avoided the Yunio death, so therefore it did slightly change. But they kickstart this episode off. You have our girl looking at the book, which means, like, oh shit, she's immediately going back to the ultimate void plot. Luke's looking a little edgy, which, hey, I get it. The general people are starting to say, psst, that Natsuko, she's summoning all. No matter how much we fight, the story is pretty much hitting these certain story beats. And while yes, some things are different, such as, the famous scene in the movie is when, the princess or whatever, she jumps and saves a child, and then, Luke tries to protect, and then she gets sliced down because of it, then Luke goes crazy. This time, Natsuko saves the kid, Yunio protects her, they both get sucked up. I thought the way we would avoid it was Yunio dies here. Seemingly they probably teleported. I don't know. I've seen a lot of theories. What if when this world ends, characters like Luke get isekai to her world, like maybe it's an isekai to isekai thing. I mean, at the end of the day, even if that happens, one world's ending. And if the world doesn't end, I mean, she's definitely going back home. Like, no matter what, I think it's going to have to be at least bittersweet. But I didn't expect it to escalate this quick, but I guess it had to, given it's a 12 episode anime. And yeah, I mean, they are. This author sucks, man. She refuses for happy endings. I had a comment last week. It's like, hey, like, what do you think the reason, or like, what's going to be the reason behind the author's like obsession with this negative ending? And in normal circumstances, just because the author likes a negative ending, like there's nothing too deep about it. Same way like playing a violent video game doesn't make you inherently violent. Given that this show is obviously going for deeper than that, I think the bitch is just depressed. I'm gonna put it bluntly. Of course, want to see my full thoughts on the episode, support my work, we got the Patreon, full link at live reactions available exclusively over there if you're so interested. So, I do think they're trying to build Natsuko into being the ultimate void. I think she refuses to do it. But now that I see Luke thinking that most likely Natsuko's dead here, I do see him being the final void again. But I think what we're trying to build here, or what I can see how the story goes, is with him thinking that both Yunio and Natsuko are dead, the whole final void plotline happens. He hates the general villagers, blah, blah, blah. Insert big crazy thing. Natsuko's going to come back in the heat of the moment here, the just right time. Whatever she draws, I imagine will be fully drawn and animated, not just like the kind of rough drafts that we've always seen with her drawings. And somehow either hopeful they all go to her world, like even just the random villagers. I don't know if that'd be too hopeful, but either way, she draws something. It either ends and she wakes up, or she ends up going back home and they have to say goodbye. Something like that probably happens. But as it stands, I mean, thinking there's like a true hopeful everything's okay, given that there's already been a shit ton of death, both on main characters and general villagers, it ain't looking too good. I did like what they did, though, with her depression. I think everyone's depression, because I think one of the most interesting things and biggest compliments I can give the show is if you look at the early stuff, I never really liked Yunio as a character. I thought probably that little unicorn was the most annoying character out of the cast. But what I have to give major props to is the fact that I legitimately like the character now. My least favorite out of the main cast, but not to a point where I'm like, the show would be better without him. At the end of the day, I think the emotional growth that we've seen made for more than a meme mascot level character like initially it started out, which, to be fair, seemingly is what it was in the original movie, but because of Natsuko's interference, actually developed into a worthwhile character. That scene by the Grey specifically, I love that with Justice or whatever the name is. The idea of like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, Luke, blah blah blah. No, I'm asking about you. Like, how are you doing specifically? Because they've all lost so much, right? And man, just seeing the Like, I think it's brilliant how they've gone about showcasing the OG movie. Like, we had a rough idea at the start, and especially over the last couple of episodes, we really understand the big plot points now. So when we see certain things like a kid tripping over, we're like, we know what that means. Or the villagers whispering, we can't trust them, but usually that would happen to Luke and company, but right now it's specifically targeting Natsuko. And the interesting thing is she's looking at it as, my being here has actually made things worse than me not being here, which I don't know if I agree with. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the characters that should have either been dead or turned cloak by now haven't. So I do think her interference has caused more benefit than not, but there's no denying her being here is a conflict with the world's interests, and unless we convince the OG author, that bird, to calm the hell down, I don't see how she wins this successfully. I gotta be honest. I can't even say what the best episode of the show is anymore, because I probably would feel like a broken record the past 4 weeks. But that's how good the second half has been. Like, ever since we got the backstory episode that was just so different from a normal Isekai style backstory, it's just been pedal to the metal, and they ain't letting off the gas. I do think the most likely thing that happens is we do still commit to Luke at this point becoming the ultimate void. She comes back in the nick of time, draws something, helps it, and they part in some ways. I don't know if we'll get the route of they get to actually have a romance together, or if they'll go maybe more of like she notices someone in her world that looks like Luke but probably isn't him, but then she doesn't know. I don't know. I just hope that if this world can't survive, they get the old Truck-kun treatment and get to go back to her world. Because they've already jumped from one, and they're hinting since the beginning that they want to jump back, so why not bring some fantasy characters with us? Because goddamn, this world and its author does not treat them well. I know Earth doesn't treat us well, but shit, it's gotta be better than whatever void nonsense this is. I will admit though, the voids in this episode, the scribbly ones from her drawing that she didn't really finish and just kind of crumpled up, probably the best designs we've seen. There's something about the animation and style to that was just so intoxicating. It was creepy, it was unnerving, and I don't know, I just get the impression that if you were too close to it, you'd get zapped by chaos. It just was nasty, man. It's just, I expected a really good isekai from the start, but this is turning into like a modern classic level isekai with a depressing twist, to say the least. Your thoughts down below, theories if you got any. What are you committing to for an ending? Because there's a lot of ways and ideas I've seen floating around, and I don't know what people are committing to anymore, because I don't even know what I want to commit to. So your thoughts. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll just give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Frank Stendel, David Walker, Y, Tori Holland, CCC Studios, Patrick Strensky, Nathan Matthews, Karsu JP, Jonathan, Mate Major, and we also have Earl888. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and if you ever make yourself a story, maybe just be a little more kind to these characters, because goddamn, this author was a bitch. Have a good one.